Coming at you live from their secret location in an underwater bunker 2 miles off the Emerald Coast, it's Chimichanga Talk with your host, Deadpool Speaks.
And we're back for another round of podcasting. It is me, your host, Deadpool Speaks, and with me, as always, is the ever-faceted, very multilingual Bad Juju. How you doing, Bad Juju?
Better. I took throat medication because of what happened last time.
No, so here's the thing. This has been an amazing news week, right? And Bad Juju, I can tell you right now that one of the most amazing things that has happened in the news, you know what that is?
What is it?
Chimichanga Talk is releasing its gold card. So just for the awkward price of $1,000,
Ooh, okay.
you get a Chimichanga Talk Gold Plus membership, which means it fast tracks you to listening to our podcast. Now, if you want this amazing, now most people will have like YouTube subscription services and all this, but we have the Chimichanga Talk Gold Card, all right? Now, this Gold Card is extra special because we're giving it to everybody. You know, even some of our friends over there in Russia. Podaiki, I think. Well, either way, we want to go ahead and get everybody in here, especially if you got money. If you have money, we want your money. And we want to give you this gold card. I mean, it's not real gold. But, you know, it's shiny and it's pretty, and you can tell all your friends that you have it. Right?
I finally know what you're talking about. It took me so long to realize what you're talking about.
Oh, yeah. I'm talking about the Chimichanga Talk Gold Card.
Yeah.
Well, either way, in actual news, I do want to let everybody know that, you know, there is like a DC crossover, which is like super cool. It's happening coming up here real soon, which they haven't done this in like 20 years.
Yeah, it's been a long time since Marvel and DC have finally worked together. Now here's hoping they finally build a good relationship and we get some movies, some dream movies. That would be amazing.
Well, you know, they said that there might be a possibility. I mean, there could be talks. I mean, there's so many logistics to that. Like if somebody wanted to actually like make like, let's say a Batman, Superman, Iron Man. Well, you can't really Iron Man anymore, but like, you know, like Fantastic Four. It's some kind of like weird crossover for today. Just kind of blend them in together. I mean, it'd be a weird mixing of the universes, you know?
Yeah, but it'd be fun. I mean, I'll pay for it. I'd pay for it.
Yeah.
To see like Batman, Spider-Man, like resurrected Iron Man and all of that work together. That'd be fun. Give me that.
Exactly.
I'll pay the $20.
If you have, yeah, exactly. Plus, if you have the Chimichanga Talk Gold Card, we can go ahead and get you early access.
We could?
Yeah. We can believe that.
Okay.
Now, one thing that I do want to let everybody out there know is just in case if you're a fan of cryptocurrency, there has been a huge incline of cryptocurrency scams, which means that there are a whole bunch of people, especially the elderly, unfortunately, being targeted for crypto scams. So if you get approached by somebody telling you that they're going to give you part of, you know, Apple stock or something like that, and you're waiting crypto, guys, don't take it, please. If a Nigerian prince reaches out to you, or possibly Keanu Reeves, in the form of a Facebook Messenger post, please, Keanu doesn't need your money, right? Don't be friends, Snoop Dogg.
I mean, maybe Hugh Jackman, because Hugh Jackman was texting me saying he wanted to be in a relationship, and
yeah, well, that's a given.
Yeah,
Hugh,
I mean,
Hugh Jackman is an amazing. Yeah, he's built for speed, that guy. So he can get all my crypto. I'm looking at you. Mm-hmm. But you know, it's kind of scary. We live in a kind of world where you do have to protect yourself, especially now with, you know, taxes coming up and everybody kind of getting some money and all these other things. So you definitely do want to be careful out there with whatever money you have, because remember, you can either invest in eggs and have a healthy meal, or you can invest in the Chimichanga Talk Gold Card.
It's a pretty good investment.
It's gold, people. It's gold.
It has a little sparkles to it. Blind people on the road.
Well, I mean, we already have like snow and stuff like that for that, but still,
Yeah.
it's all gravy. And we have some amazing people lined up here in the very near future because I am going to go ahead and kind of give that happy shout to like a lot of our friends that are out there. And one of the people that I'm like super excited about as well is a really good writer, friend of ours. He's an award-winning writer. He's going to be on here. Also, we're kind of locking in some plans to possibly have somebody who is how can I put this?
Don't spoil it.
Like old school famous. Like this person is an amazing humanitarian, and it's actually we're gonna have like a power couple on, right? Because not only is he like a prolific writer and amazing person altogether, his wife as well is a big old geek who works with some amazing stained glass art. She's won awards, and she's also a science fiction writer, which is like a dynamic power couple. Love these people, so they're going to be, we'll be looking forward to them. And also, something that I just landed, which I thought was really cool, is I have a comedian who's going to be coming on here. But he's not only a comedian; he's like a little bit of an activist. He is a Renaissance man of multi talents. And he likes to play with toys. So he's going to be a fun one. Yeah. Hey. No, they're not toys. They're action figures. I'm sorry. So
they're collectibles.
Exactly. So here in just a moment, we're going to bring on our guest, and I'm actually really excited about this one. Really, really amazing guy. Looks like he can knock your teeth out in a bar fight. But he's the type that he could do that and then heal you with words. Oh, well. So here in just a moment, we're going to go ahead and kind of bring him on. But before we do, remember, Chimichanga Talk Gold Card, $1,000.
It's a nice investment.
It's a nest egg, okay? It's not only for you, but for every member of your family, which is an additional $1,000. But that's okay, right? Because we love them all equally as long as they have a Chimichanga Talk Gold Card.
As long as credit will pay for it.
There you go. All right, real quick. We're going to go ahead and kind of sweep them out. Here we go. And...
What the
Ooh, look at that. Harry Potter style. Disappear. How you like that? How you like them apples, Voldemort? Yeah. All right, guys, and I want to let you know that our next guest, he's actually done a lot in his life. He's been a mover, a shaker, and one of the most amazing things is he has a laundry list of typecasted characters in a sense, yep. Right? But he's done everything from Arrest the Terminator in Terminator Genesis. Right, he's been eaten by dinosaurs.
Can't say that every day.
Yeah, I mean that's unique. He's also tried to take down mutants in Logan, right? Yeah, and
eventually.
Yeah, and and he's actually.
Whoops.
That's not me.
That's me.
Those are our iconic Hounds of Death. They're doing their cry right now for Del Taco. They're just not Taco Bell fans, man. I don't know what to tell you. But more importantly, he's had some amazing scenes with Keanu Reeves in a movie called The Whole Truth, which. You see him loud and clear there. Beyond being on TV and doing all these other things, he has been a wonderful self-made man. And it is my pleasure to bring on to you America's movie cop, right? John Armijo. How are you doing today?
Good, but you pronounced my last name right, so. Good on you.
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, John, we met many years ago in a tragic convention.
Let me interrupt you. I've got a pretty good
Yeah.
memory. That was Panama City Con.
Yes.
With
Yes. That was. I made so much money on that con. No, I'm just kidding. We were so. But you know what? It's great seeing you,
Thank you. You too.
and what an amazing ride it's been for you.
Oh yeah.
I know that because we're going to start not necessarily at the beginning, because your story doesn't necessarily start at the beginning. Your story starts like somewhere around the middle.
Yeah.
But you're kind of like a pretty woman, Julia Roberts, in the sense that tell us how you got discovered, because I love the story.
Okay. So probably going back about 15 years ago or so. I've always had this stern look about me, and I often get mistaken for a cop or for a soldier. Even to this day, I'll go to Home Depot and offer me a 10% discount. It happens all the time.
You take
Because I have a buzzed head. I've got a buzzed head, a stern look, and I have really good posture. So I guess about 15 years ago or so, a friend of mine was going to meet with the casting director in New Orleans to get onto the G.I. Joe movie. I'm sorry, it was to get onto a different movie. And he asked if I wanted to come along for the ride. So I said, sure, we'll have lunch or whatever. And they went and had a meeting. When she came out, she saw me in the waiting room and said, hey, are you signed up with my company? Because I have a lot of work for you. And I said, no. Signed off. And on the way home from New Orleans back to Mandeville, where I lived, about 45 minutes, I got 5 phone calls. Soldier, cop just as an extra. And lifelong interest in movies, lifetime con attendee and all that. So I'm pretty involved in pop culture myself my whole life, going back to the 80s. And so on by about the 5th call, I said, my God, is this normal? And she says, no, you just got a really good look. And I used to go to the gym like 5 days a week. And while I was never The Rock, I was in much better shape than I am now. I was a 51-year-old. And so I said, sure, what the hell? And self-employed, so I was able to just, I had the flexibility to do it. So I got into some sets and immediately recognized what it was, which is a job, and took direction, followed orders, was punctual, and treated it as such, and moved through the ranks. So I went from, extra to what they called special ability to featured, and then, set myself some goals. Within a year, I want to start to get speaking roles, which I did. And that's the basic start of it.
And how, and like you said, it was an unbelievable moment for you, because you're like, wow, okay, I can make something out of this.
Yeah.
And I know that, and we're going to go ahead and kind of get into like more current stuff, which is kind of like more your indie stuff that you do yourself. But being in that kind of environment, because going from because I believe you've been like your own boss for like most of your life, right?
Yeah, at least half of it.
Yeah, so going into an environment where you're kind of like a small fish in a really big pond of just craziness going around, because I mean you got people running across the sets, you got gaffers, you got all these other things. Right. How did that feel? Was it like, did it spin your head, or?
No, because I can switch my perspective pretty easily. I mean, I've been an employee, and I've been the boss, and in a situation like that, I'm the new guy. I'm a guest in their world. And again, a lot of people I see get on sets and suddenly it goes to their head and they act like they're in shit, excuse my language. It's like, dude, it's a job. You can be replaced quickly, and they will replace you if you bring that. If you're problematic to the process and the organization of what's going on, they'll just get rid of you. And so, yeah, I've always treated it like a job and kept myself humble and stayed in my lane. I've never had a problem. So just behave yourself. Check the ego out more.
And you can
exactly.
And that is something that's nice to hear. Someone actually say, yeah, people get over their head a lot. And it goes in like a lot of movies. We're like, oh, no, actors are not like that. They are. They're very much. Some of them.
I'll even tell you that, in my experience, I mean, I've spent a lot of thousands of hours at this point on sets and around people and a lot of big names. Because I've concluded that as a general rule, there's a difference between actors and movie stars. A movie star would be like Arnold or Stallone or Tom Cruise. They're kind of the same person in every movie.
Yeah.
An actor would be somebody like Kevin Spacey or Gary Oldman, who they're a completely different person in every movie, especially Gary Oldman. That's an actor to me. And generally, who you see on screen is, I find, generally who they are. Without going into, I don't want to bash anybody. There's some people that come off as jerks on screen. That's kind of who they are. But I've only ever really had maybe 2 or 3 bad experiences on set. One with an actress I don't want to name. 2 with actors, but I kind of knew what to expect, and I just said, I'm just going to be friendly, shake their hand, and do what I got to do, but I'm not going to get too chummy. And then my only really bad experiences were with like a props department guy, a PA once, really just kind of being disrespectful, which I don't like. But again, I handled it respectfully, and I don't like being talked to a certain way when I'm not doing that to other people. So I just kind of,
So basically, like, the golden rule when you're on set, right? And treat others as you like to be treated, right?
Yeah, just life rule. And because it's a set, there's no customer service.
No, I want to talk to your manager.
Right.
No HR.
There's just a lot of, people are, for the most part, 99% of people you meet in life are cool. But there's that asshole every now and then, and because there's nobody to really check your behavior, they can get away with it. In one particular instance with a PA, I mean, he was just being a dick from the moment I got there, and I just said, listen, dude, I'll leave. You guys asked me to be here. I didn't ask to be here. If you don't want me, I'll walk out the door. Then I knew the assistant director, so he came over and had him apologize. I said, I don't really need an apology. Just don't act like that. That's it.
Yeah. And it's a simple thing that I guess some people have bad days on sets, and sets are like
it could be chaotic like any other workplace.
It just, some people start to go over their head. It becomes way too much. But like, golden rule, treat others how you want to be treated. And if you treat someone with respect, someone gives you respect, you should give it back, shake their hand, whatever. Even if you are upset, try to make that effort, And
that goes to, every big name that has nothing but awesome. Absolutely awesome. From the directors to the stars. And if you've never been on a set, they're really, really long days. I've had days on set as short as 2 hours. I just go and do my thing and leave. But I think the longest was about 22 hours. It just depends on, and they're long, long days, and oftentimes you do physical stuff, but most of the time it gets mentally taxing, and you're not required all the time. Usually not required at all 22 hours or whatever. So it's a lot of sitting around while they move lights, rearrange sets, rehearse, and all. That's a lot of sitting around. And I was at the doctor with my wife yesterday, and I was sitting in a really uncomfortable chair. I said, I think I'm going to take a nap, and she said, you can't nap in that chair. And I said, one thing on set that I learned is that you can nap anywhere. You get bored, you get tired, and I'm just going to have a folding chair. I'm going to find a way to take a nap in this chair.
It's like watch me. I can do this.
You just got to slow down a little bit. You got to find that little spot, and then you're out.
Really long days, and really mentally taxing, for sure. And the situations, are crazy. There's been times where we filmed in 25-degree weather, but in the movie it's in June, so we have summer clothes on. In between takes you bundle up and all that. But when that comes off, okay, act like you're not cold. Then there's really, really hot days, 120-degree heat index, where it's all physical.
I can imagine.
It's brutal. It goes all extremes or cramped spaces. So it's you definitely encounter every extreme possible.
Because basically you're kind of based out of Louisiana. And, a lot of the work that's down there, not only do you have that heat, but you have that humidity, So I can only imagine how having to deal with that kind of long day. It could put people in all sorts of moods.
Plus physical, we filmed a movie called Keanu with Key and Peele. And I did 3 days on that, and it was a shootout scene. And the heat index was 120. So between shots, they're saying, go back into this mansion we were filming at and just stay out of the heat as much as possible. But Method Man was a villain in that, and he actually passed out. I've seen him pass out. Wow. And usually I play a cop a lot. So like even on Terminator we were talking about earlier, I played a cop in that, and I was wearing an all black outfit. And this must have been May or June 2014 or 15, and it started to get me.
You were wearing like heavy gear in that movie, weren't you? Yeah. Like the tactical vests and stuff like that, because you were like part of the cartel bodyguard stuff, right?
Oh yeah.
So how much weight was that on you? Was that like maybe 10 pounds?
Like in Keanu, so whenever you have a bulletproof vest on, they take the plates out, so that brings the weight down.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah.
Anytime you have stuff in the pockets, generally they'll replace it, like if it's for your extra ammo for your gun or whatever, it'll be rubber, so it just produces the appearance of something in there. But they really do lighten the load. And on Keanu, we were using real weapons, so that was a real weapon that probably weighed about 15 pounds around your neck at all times. But oftentimes, if you're not needed to be like really close to the camera, the weapons will be foam, so like maybe a pound. Okay. So I remember the first time I was given this gun, I was like, yeah, give me the real gun because I want to fight the real gun, And then after 12 hours of hauling this thing around, I was like, no, give me the foam gun, unless we're going to be shooting it, then I'll take the real. But I learned pretty quick. The real gun's only fun for a while because it gets heavy and you're responsible for it.
Yeah, especially a real gun. Yeah, you don't want to be just carrying that around. Even on the set, I'd be scared to even be near one.
We all saw what happened on that the set of Dust and all that other stuff. It's like crazy because and I mean this has gone back in history with props and stuff like that. There's a lot of stress going on when you're using anything like that, But I mean, we go to the movies to kind of disassociate ourselves and really kind of get in the moment, for all these things. And I think that's what gives your look such a great we need somebody who looks like this. Because every role that you've done, whether it's TV or film, you were kind of typecasted into this, kind of not necessarily military style, but just a very stern-looking person.
I've been told I look authoritative.
There you go.
And talking about the movie The Whole Truth, when I was hired for that, they look at your resume and your picture first. Mm-hmm. And they called me and they said, hey, John, can you give us 2 weeks to play the bailiff? So yeah, I can do that. 2 weeks. So then they said, well, come on down and meet the director. So I went down and met the director. As soon as I walked in, she says, no. Forget the bailiff. Can you do an attorney because you look very intimidating? And I want somebody to intimidate Keanu Reeves who can beat the crap out of me in about 2 seconds. I said, oh, yeah, I can do that. I can do an attorney. Sure. You'll be the assistant prosecutor. Can you do that? Oh, yeah. We're going to bump this up and it's a great advancement. It's like, yeah, I got this. I can act. I ran out of there scared shit. I was like, what did I sign? What did I get into? I know I can play a cop,
not attorney Keanu Reeves.
Oh, yeah. What did I get myself into? So I ran home, and I have a neighbor who is a lawyer. And I ran and knocked on his door. I said, can I talk to you for like 30 minutes? So I talked to him and called another friend of mine who's a lawyer and said, give me some advice. And managed to pull it off. So, I acted like I knew what I was doing.
Well, I mean, you pulled it off, right? I mean, that's the whole thing. But and it's interesting that you mentioned that because even though you play, these kind of like typical characters and everything else, right? You're kind of put in a position where you can be every man, And most people think, well, and you just said it right now that you had to kind of go back and do a little bit of research to kind of understand the character that you were going to be playing. How does someone who doesn't have a lot, right? You're in there on the screen. You're there to represent this one character. Do you try to make yourself stand out in any way by kind of doing your research, or are you just like, hey, I'm going to show up, wing this, and kind of just knock this out?
I've done both. But I think the basics of all of this is you have to be very, very, very comfortable with how the world sees you. Like the way I look is not my personality at all. Once you talk to me for any length of time, you say, no, this dude's not, whatever. Probably just the exact opposite. But you have to be very, very comfortable with how the world sees you because that's how you get hired. They look at my picture. My first headshots to me with a big goofy smile, and I still got work. But the moment I started seeing where this was leading to, I changed my headshots to a more stern look. And then, I really started getting the roles specifically towards that. And I had to accept, okay, well, this isn't what I am, but that's how the world sees me, so I have to embrace it. If that's what's going to get me hired and that's what's going to get me the calls, be comfortable with that. And, when we talked about my own stuff and doing my own stuff, I've always preferred comedy because that's just what I find interesting, and I like to write and do silly stuff. But I learned pretty quickly that that's not how the world sees me. The one time I ever did get hired for something comedic was on a TV show called Preacher. My scenes are still in there. What I was specifically hired for was cut, which was screwed up because that's like, thank God I finally got something to be funny.
And they cut you out. They're like, well, stick to being a cop, buddy. All right?
Yeah. You could always be the guy in the background. Like you said, you could stare down people. You can eyeball them from the background. That's comedic. You could be someone who keeps lurking in like episodes, like a mysterious guy is kind of looking at people.
So to go back to your question, I don't think I answered totally. Is you want to stand out? No, you don't. When you get hired, and again, it's a job. If my job is to be a SWAT guy, at this point, I'm not a cop or any of that stuff, so I had to learn weapons use, which most productions will provide you. If not, they'll have somebody on set, usually an advisor, or some of the other guys playing SWAT guys are real cops, and they'll show you how to do stuff. So that's how I learned over the years, is talking to people that have really done it, and through advisors. I just have to look like, hey, if that's what we're doing, I'm doing my part. I don't want to stand out. I don't want them to have to yell cut because I'm screwing up. You're on a schedule, just like any job. You're on a schedule, and you got things to get done. And I don't want to be the guy that's going to cause things to get messed up or throw the schedule off. So I've never really had that problem because I go into the proper mindset that we're here to work, and I'm not going to be a problematic person. I've seen people that are problematic and they get asked to leave or not hired back. And I've definitely seen people not called back. And I've never had that problem. I mean, to this day, my phone still rings, and I just do whatever I feel like doing.
I heard once. I heard you do an interview once, right? And you may be like, "Oh, really?" But one thing that really struck me out was that you say surround yourself with really good people, right? Because you're a creative person, right? That's something that you said that has been lifelong with you. That you're always constantly wanting to go kind of work on a new idea, and your indie record has shown that, right? Like, and as we explore that, but I want to go ahead and kind of touch base on that. What do you mean by surround yourself by really good people?
So I think we all have our own strengths, and then I'm not good at everything, but the team that I work with, a guy named Michael Lang, a guy named Paul Tuzer, and Fiona McQuinn, the Beatles, we kind of built this team over the past few years. And Michael, really, really, really good at cinematography. Where he might be weaker is like his communication skills might not be as good as mine. So we each have our role. Paul's really good with props. He can build anything. You can give him a paper clip and a cow dick, and he'll build something out of it.
MacGyver.
He's really good with people, and she's an acting coach. So you put all these different elements together where we complement each other. Your strengths are my weaknesses, and vice versa. And you've got to be humble enough to recognize what your weaknesses are, and humble enough also to know what your strengths are. So you're humble in that regard. But once you put that together, and everybody knows their role, that, in my opinion, that's when things really, really start to take off, where you're not stepping on each other's toes or getting each other's way, or not a whole bunch of egos like, where I'm the best writer, I'm the best whatever. You just sit down and you know when to stay in your lane and when to back off, and when to stand your ground. That makes sense?
So so it's basically about building the best team to go ahead and mutually accomplish a goal together.
Yes,
right?
And also knowing when somebody doesn't mesh with it, because we brought people in. It's just it's not a good fit. Usually when that's happened in our history is when somebody causes disruption. Okay. For example, I had written this short, and a buddy of mine asked to be on it, and I said, okay, I really don't have much for you to do, but I can write in something if you want to come, hang out and be part of it. When he got there, it wasn't what he wanted. So he said, I want to add this. He had rewritten the script and all sorts of stuff. I said, are you paying attention to what we're doing here? He's like, no, have you read the script? No, I haven't done that. But this is what I want. You brought me out here. So no, I didn't bring you out here. You asked to be out here. We brought you in. I told you exactly what this is and isn't. But we've already got 100 hours into this before we even got here today. It's already 100 hours of work just getting us here. And now I have these two guys that are doing their scene for me, and it's their day, and I'm not going to stop and interrupt that to feed your ego when you knew what you were signing up for. It's not fair to them. It's not fair to the rest of us that have put 100 hours into this, and things like that where you just become a disruption, and it's disrespectful to the people around you and what we're all working on, not for me, but for us. And one person kind of come in and say, screw you guys, it's about me. That's when things fall apart. So, okay, maybe that's not a good fit for next time, because your priorities are not the team, it's you. And you can't operate that way.
Yeah, and that's
exactly.
You should never enter something like that. Even I've never personally, I've been to theater sets and all that. Never a movie set, but I already know you are not, like, even if you're the star, you can't be shifting things like that, because people have spent time for that and they've prepared for that.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you come in and you're like, no, No, like if you're like a Jim Carrey, you do improv. That's a bit more, lenient. But if you're trying to write in more scenes and all that, it's just you complicate.
And if you make money like
everyone.
Jim Carrey,
if you make money like Jim Carrey, if you're Jim Carrey, starts with Jim, ends with Carrey. But no, that's completely disrespectful to do, and I hope he got something still because he came out, but still. Yeah.
Oh yeah, we got it settled. But I mean, sometimes I have to be comfortable enough with myself being the guy in charge, saying, "Hey, we're not doing that. Here's why." Yeah. I'll explain why. And there's 3 stages to every production. There's pre-production, photography when you're shooting everything, and post-production put all together. And the pre-production, people don't realize how much work goes into phone calls, getting your location. That particular day we had that location till 4:00. 4:00, we have to be out of here. Yeah. Stuff has to be done. I can't add on 3 more hours. You agreed to come out here under these terms, and I can't change it now. I could try to add in a little bit more just to de-escalate things, but I can't rewrite everything. The work's already done. You were provided with, here's what we're doing, here's a schedule, here's the plan, here's a script. If you didn't read it, it's not on me, it's on you.
Yeah, right.
So let's go and talk about Pop-Tarts, right? Pop-Tarts Adventures, right? You kind of like started some shorts, right? You have like the group that you're calling now, right? That your team, right? The Beatles, right? Our Fun Productions, right? Talk to me about Pop-Tart Adventures.
Okay, so I guess about the time Facebook started must have been 2008 or so. We're really started to take
off. Sometime.
I was still using MySpace, my friend. Okay. I still use it now.
I have kids, and you have a kid right there that I'm looking at. Okay. So my kids had a very bad habit of going into the pantry, and maybe you can relate as a parent, going into the pantry, eating something, and then leaving the box, an empty box. Okay.
Not me.
So,
not me.
This is how it started. So, it happened once with Pop-Tarts. I don't even like Pop-Tarts. Just every now and then I get angry for Pop-Tart. Went in the pantry, get a Pop-Tart, the box is empty. All right, threw it away. About the second or third time, it became very predictable what was going to happen. So as a goof, I picked up my phone and I recorded. It was very sarcastic. I want a Pop-Tart. Let's walk into the pantry and document there's no Pop-Tart. And sure as shit, there was no Pop-Tart. It was an empty box, so I threw it away. I posted on Facebook, and everybody laughed because they could all relate. And then being the attention whore that I am, it's like, oh, people like that. It's got 1,000 views and a lot of laughs on that. So from that moment forward, every time I went in there, I began to suspect my kids started setting me up also. I'd go in there with the phone and record this video, and it got a lot of views, and then we started making them more elaborate. Like we'd add special effects or whatever to make it more interesting. But the punchline was always the same, was that the box was empty. So, after doing that for, 12, 15 times, I said, all right, well, the joke's kind of run itself through. And then I went on to the set of NCIS New Orleans to do some SWAT stuff. And when we were between takes on our SWAT stuff, one of the guys that I work with a lot, because I work with a lot of the same guys over and over, a lot of cops, he ran over to me with a Pop-Tart. He said, look what I stole from Crafty. Let's make a Pop-Tart video, which was kind of funny. And then worked with John Mangus on Planet Noctis. And that was a Renaissance movie where knights in armor and stuff. And sure as shit, somebody, let's make a Pop-Tart video. Then it just kind of became a goof. It's like, all right, this thing's kind of getting bigger and more interesting. And the costumes were getting better because we're actually wearing like movie grade costumes now and on interesting sets and things like that. Yeah. So it was kind of fun. And again, I'm always kind of one looking for opportunity and recognizing things like, all right, this thing seems to be getting bigger and bigger. And I was always interested in kind of starting my own thing. And it's like, well, you know what? I've already got an audience because people are watching this as it is. So I need to build on that. So that's when I said, all right, I'm going to put together my own little team. I'm actually going to write a Pop-Tart skit. So I have a buddy named Jason Stanley who looks like Jason Statham. So there's one Pop-Tart skit with him where he's playing Jason Statham from The Expendables, and the short's called Christmas in the Park. And so we did it, a little 5-minute skit, and that was my first time really filming anything where I had a little camera guy, 2 or 3 of us. And I learned by doing. So I said, all right, I'm bringing a notepad. Everything that I screw up and everything I do right, I'm going to write down. Everything I do wrong, I'm going to write down. Number 1, if you think it's going to take an hour, it's going to take 4 hours. Lesson 1. Lesson 2, bring water.
Yeah, right. That's a given.
Stay hydrated.
That's a given.
Number 3, the audio sucked. Be aware of the audio next time. So I wrote down all this stuff. What went right, what went wrong. And then so the next time we did another one, wrote another one. And again, just started to learn off that. then I put out a call to all my Facebook buddies and film buddies. Hey guys, I'm gonna start doing these little skits. If you want to be involved in it, let me know. We'll find something for everybody. However, since it's truly indie, whatever you can bring to the table, bring to the table.
Yeah.
Whether it's water, cameras, microphones, or whatever. So we did several of these little Pop-Tart videos that we wrote ourselves, and then eventually went to one called Hopeless, a Star Wars story, which is a Star Wars group where the 501st got involved, and a friend of mine who was involved, he had access to a giant campground, rivers and sand dunes, and I mean everything. So we can take full advantage of that. And then access to four-wheelers, which, we put the camera guy in the back of that, and now we have awesome dolly shots, and just took advantage of what we have, all for little cost, and then really just kind of built off that to where we are now. So
and you had Brian Hell Jr. on there playing Darth Vader. Absolutely wonderful guy from the Weekend Geek, right? Unfortunately, he's no longer with us. Good friend, good con friend, right? Amazing
Absolutely.
guy.
He did a lot with us. Up to the end.
Yep, absolutely. And it's that can be actually seen on your YouTube channel. Our fun productions. We'll put a link to it below, but so that way you can have it. And you know what? Actually, I didn't even realize this, but I have something for you right here, just in case. I didn't even realize that. Yeah, exactly. And it's funny because you found ways to kind of even incorporate it in your own comedy, like in Flops, where it has become like a little kind of inside joke for you. Now you went from there to working at Sheriff Jackie Shorts, which I absolutely loved, and Sheriff Jackie unfortunately is no longer with us as well. And it's absolutely, it's absolutely beautiful memories that you created, right? And these were like shorts that were uniquely different in the sense that they took little spotted moments of like kind of movie lore or this or that, and you kind of incorporated it with your own style. Yeah. And you said all that stuff was like a learning process, right, for bigger and better things. Go ahead.
So going back to Pop-Tarts, so every viewer that we have to this day is a result of those little silly Pop-Tart videos. And to this day, people that watch those still watch the stuff we do. So the little Easter egg we always show in there's every single project I do, there's a Pop-Tart in that video somewhere. Sometimes it's obvious, sometimes there's a box on the package. I linked Pop-Tart in a lot of our videos, and they've not reached out to me with a contract.
I don't understand why. We're going to go ahead and make this a movement. Everybody should make him like the spokesperson, just like on the Wheaties box. We're going to need, John Armijo staring you down, and from a Pop-Tart box. And it's funny because I said that because that is your most mispronounced thing, because a lot of people see it and they go, okay, well, we're going to go for the absolutely 100% Spanish version, Armijo, right? But it's Armijo. And you have this little line that you say that I always hear you say it. And what is that?
My last name is mispronounced.
Oh, you say a little louder, because like we weren't able to hear that.
My last name's been mispronounced so many times that I'm not even sure if I'm saying it right.
Exactly. That's the one. I've heard you say that multiple times to multiple people. Oh, yeah. And, it's funny because when you read it, and, even coming like me from Hispanic descent and everything else, it's just, that's kind of like the way that you want to go. Yeah. But Armijo, it sounds like G.I. Joe.
Yes.
Not to correlate the two, but we might as well. Now, you jumped into bigger, better things, and what I mean by that, I mean like other projects and series. Like I know that you did a 48-hour film festival in New Orleans, Devotion, right? That was like your first go at it, right?
First one was before that. It was called Magically Me.
Okay. Yeah, I thought that one was, because that one won awards, didn't it?
Yeah, we won 7 awards for that one. So a friend of mine named Jen Foreman, who worked with us on Helpless, I'd met her over the years. She came to me one day and said, "Hey, I really want to do this. Can you help me produce it, put it together?" She said, "I got the people, but I would just like your help." So she'd done me many favors, so I'm happy to return the favor. So I got together with her brought some people in, and we killed it. And it was her first attempt doing it. And yeah, we got 7 awards off that one. And then we did Devotion the following year, which was phenomenal special effects and production value. We had car accidents, explosions, concerts, fantastic. Didn't win any awards for that, strangely. And then we did one last year with a friend of mine named Zara Wilson. She's a really, really good writer. And she'd never done anything in film before. And I've never been behind the camera before. So I just bought on a whole new set of Quench Slave sitting right here. And I said, I want to try this. I want to be behind the camera. You write it and help me direct it, and I'll produce it. I'll bring in very, very limited people, like 3 or 4 people. We'll just knock this out. Great location. So we went and picked our, if you're familiar with 48 How It Works, we went and picked our genre. And we went and filmed it. It was called Father's Day. And she got nominated. She didn't win, unfortunately. She got nominated for Best Writer on her first try. And we got nominated as a team for Best Special Effects. So first try for her. I was really, really proud of her for killing it like that. So we got some more projects that we're going to work on her and I that she's written. And I'll come in and produce them. In fact, we were talking about it just a little while ago before I talked to you guys about getting together to start to map things out. But 48-hour film festival is pretty fun. My mistake on Father's Day, the last one we did, is being the idiot that I am. I jump into things and I said, all right, I'll be the cameraman on this one, but I'm not really knowledgeable as a cameraman. So there's a lot of additional pressure on me to figure out how the camera was working when we're in a tight time frame. So I made that mistake.
Yeah, so you said I'm going to jump in with both feet, right? Because it's 48 hours. I mean, you literally start like on a Friday evening, I think it is, and then you have to have it ready by Sunday after, like at evening time, also, right?
7 p.m.
So
7 p.m. Friday, 7 p.m. Sunday night.
Yeah, so that's just crazy. Now, you mentioned that, like, I mean, you are, creative in all sense. You know what your strengths are. You enjoy writing. You enjoy producing. That's like your big thing that I think you said. And you're always, doing little cameos here and there. But you didn't like directing because you're like, well, it wasn't really for me. But why? Because it seems like you're the natural person to kind of go in and kind of just give direction and just kind of be, super honest and forward. Why producing and not directing?
I could do both. I originally wanted to do indies to learn how to direct. As I got more and more into it, I found out that I'm really, really good at producing. Like the producer kind of puts the whole team together, and figures out your schedules, locations, and all that, and puts everything together. So I didn't expect to be good at that. I think from just my own natural, business path that I know a lot of people. So if I need a World War II Jeep, I can make a phone call and get 2 of them right now. If I need, a gas station, I can make a call and get it. So I can make things happen very, very quickly. I've got a very, very good network. The problem is you start wearing too many hats. So I can direct and I do direct and I'm pretty good at that. But when I'm directing, it's like I can only wear that one hat. Otherwise, it gets overwhelming quickly because everybody really has a role to play. And even if I'm filming my own stuff, I've pretty much regulated myself to cameos on my own projects, just because the producer and even directing role just takes so much focus that if I try to do both, it's okay, John, you're up. It's time to go shoot your scenes. I don't need to know my lines because I've been focusing on that.
Yeah,
and focusing on everything else. So yeah, I could do both. I don't mind directing, but it's another hat to wear. So that I guess that's what makes it difficult trying to do too much. I can do it though. I'm not bad. I got pretty good people skills, and I bond and connect with people pretty easily. But you've got to be familiar enough with your script and what you want out of it to be able to communicate that to the actor. Then you have to be understanding enough that I've written this in my head. Now they get to bring their interpretation to it. And what I accepted a long time ago is that whatever you write is not going to be what turns out. Even if you look at George Lucas' Star Wars, what he wrote is not what it turned out to be.
Exactly.
You got to be extremely flexible and understanding that you may be the mastermind who kind of lays this all out, but you have to be open to other people's contributions and interpretation of what you've written and collaborative. Because if you don't, it's just not going to work. Nobody's going to want to work with you. These guys. So
the teamwork makes the dream work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I think another thing, and this doesn't get talked about, I think, enough with you or with anybody, because you have a very unique perspective on life, because you are a cancer survivor.
Yep.
And that you hold that very near and dear to your heart, helping others. Talk about that journey, because you said some inspiring things before. Plus, through your network, and I'm lucky enough to be a friend, to be able to see how much you appreciate life. But what was it about going through that kind of just changed your experience and perspective on life?
Well, the personality you see now has always been my personality, just pretty happy-go-lucky, chill dude. And up until that point, I've never been sick. I've had a cold maybe twice in my life, and I'm 51. Maybe twice in my life I've had a cold. I've never broken a bone. Pretty strong dude. But something like cancer and dealing with it, the whole 15 months of chemotherapy and just absolutely being on death's doorstep for that long, you got a lot of time to think. And I'm a pretty active dude, so to be just bedridden and stuck, you got a lot of time to think. A lot of time to think and a lot of time to form philosophies. And over those times when I was ready to just say, you know what, that's it, I'm done. I've accepted my death. And then I didn't die. And I had so accepted that I was going to die that I started throwing things away and just truly accepted it. And then I didn't die. It's like, okay, well, what do I do with myself now? The world's moved on without me. So I really, really had to figure out some philosophies for my own sanity, because I've never suffered from depression, but I did then. And most of it was chemically induced depression, including suicidal thoughts and just thoughts that I've never had. And there's several conclusions that I reached, but one of them was that never having faced death before, my conclusion was that in order for me to live, I had to accept my own death. So we all know we're going to die. Some guy comes in right now and puts a gun in my face. I've got about 2 seconds to accept it. When you're laying in bed for months and the conclusion is you're going to die, you got a lot of time to really, really think and be angry and go through all the steps of grief and all that. And I was mad for a long time. Like, this isn't fair. I've done nothing right. I don't smoke. I don't drink. I don't do drugs. I've done everything right. I don't eat the best, but I've done everything right. How could this happen to me? I don't do anything
the
wrong.
occasional Pop-Tart would not cause this,
Maybe. But
well, someone for that Pop-Tart sponsorship.
Right, that's right. But then also just realizing that, okay, I've been given a second chance at life. Cool. There is no guarantee of a third time. I've been given second, no guarantee of a third. So now I'm 10 years cancer-free this year, so good on that. And for me to understand how to process all this, I'd never been part of a support group or anything. So I write or I talk about things because I also learned that all this weight on your soul, that takes a burden on you. And I had to get this off my soul. So I just started typing and contributing to websites to talk about cancer and just writing the way I was feeling, simply to get it off my chest, that I was carrying this weight that was just killing my soul. And the more and more I did that, so many people said, you know what, I'm exactly where you were a year ago. Like, this just happened to me. And hearing somebody that's been through it and say, man, I'm going to be okay. That's what I needed to hear. And I've come to find out since then, thousands of people have said that, you're telling me what I needed to hear at the right time. So I've made a lot of friends. I've had my stuff on websites and, podcasts and stuff like that. And I kind of justified it by saying, well, if the justification for me is that something so horrible had to happen to me, that something positive came out of it, then I can accept that. Yeah. If that makes sense. So I'll take the punch, but people are going to get something out of it. And I'm sure there's so many people that I've never even met, that have got something out of it. There's also people that I have met. A friend of mine, 2 years after I went through my stuff, called me, says, hey, can you tell me how this happened? Because I'm pretty sure I got the exact same thing. And sure as shit, he had the exact same cancer. And, my conversations publicly, he knew what to look for and to act on it. He had chemo and he's fine now. So, you just, you never know who's reading and who's watching what you're putting out there.
Yeah. So you never know what kind of effect you're having on the world. So, have a good effect, right?
Yeah. I mean, people are watching, people are reading. So, and people deal with things different ways. I've had family members with cancer and they choose not to even talk about it. And that's up to them. Everybody's on their own path. I found the whole thing so poisoning to me that I just had to get it out of me. And, I've kind of also accepted, hey, maybe one day this is going to come back and probably kill me. But in the meantime, I'm going to have fun because, even after I was declared clear, I had to go back to the doctor for a CAT scan every 3 months for the first year and every 6 months for the second year. and once a year for 3 years after that. And the first time trying to go through those 3 months, I was so paralyzed. Like, I could be dead in 3 months. Why am I going to waste my time living if I'm going to be dead in 3 months? After the first couple of times of thinking that way, it's like, you know what? I can't live like this. I am so paralyzed with fear. I feel like I have a gun pointed at my head the whole time. And this has taken so much from me. I'm not going to let it take any more from me. So if I have to have a CAT scan, I'm going to let that fear have me for 24 hours until I get those results. But those 3 months in between, that's my time. And then 24 hours I got to do again, I'll surrender. But 3 months after that, it's my time. And that's what it took to get through it all. Just acceptance that if I'm going to die, I'm going to die. But if I'm alive, I'm going to be alive.
And I think that philosophy actually transcends into like a lot of other points in life. Like right now we're going through some craziness, you know, and I know people take it in different ways. And some people have, you know, lost a lot of hope and a lot of faith and stuff. But I'm like, you know, you can't really control things in the sense that you want to. So control what you can, the narrative of your story, the way you look at your life. And, you know, you said one thing in an interview that I saw with you that was like really, it was dirty hippie, but it was so cool. And I say dirty hippie because you were talking about how you used to wear shoes all the time, shoes, socks, and everything like that. But because in cancer, you know, going through the chemotherapy and me being a diabetic, I understand neuropathy, right? You lose fingers and sensations. So, but after you were able to regain that back, you know, what was your perspective on that?
Well, you know, I count during chemotherapy, which is awful, by the way. Nothing you ever want to experience.
Would not recommend it. No. 1 star on Yelp.
But I counted 36 side effects. 36 side effects. And, you know, they said you're going to lose your hair. So why don't I shave my hair? I don't care. No, it turned out I do care. Not because of, you know, I'm handsome regardless, though. But, you know, it's like, I really don't care. But it did piss me off at the time. It's like, my God, I'm losing everything. Why not just take that too? You know, I lost my taste, lost everything. And they said that, you know, after nerve damage is slow, so after chemotherapy, you may get neuropathy. And so I didn't know what that was. I didn't know what it felt like. And then it kind of started and one finger just kind of worked its way over to my thumb where I lost, you know, from the last segment down, lost all that feeling over time. And I couldn't hold my phone. And I have a website linked to talking about this. Actually, I worked in that movie Keanu we were talking about. And I dropped the gun because I couldn't hold the goddamn gun because I couldn't feel. And it was extremely frustrating. It's like, okay, there's no cure for this. And then it was really bad on my feet because I couldn't feel from my knees down. You know when your leg goes to sleep and it gets kind of numb? Yeah. I would have that from the kneecap down and from the elbow down where I just couldn't feel like I was asleep. I knew my arm was there. And that's another philosophy I had to come up with. It's like, my God, this is so easy to get depressed over. And I don't want to take antidepressants. I don't want to do any of that stuff. I got to figure out some way to mentally challenge myself to get through this. So that's when I started teaching myself that because I was very, very, very upset and my head was filled with very depressing thoughts. And I said, all right, every time a depressing thought hits my head about woe was me, I've got to counter that with like 5 positive thoughts. Okay, I can't feel my legs, but hey, I'm driving. I know my legs are there. I can walk. I'm not laid up. This is going on. This is going on. So then I trained myself that every time that negative thought enters, count it with 5. And after a while, it became second nature. I just started doing it automatically. And to combat the neuropathy, my wife got me some compression socks, and I wore those suckers. And eventually got the feeling in my feet back. And then I used to play with a stress ball and a guitar. I don't have a tool anymore, but it's for people that play guitar to kind of get used to. And that works. So I would say in my hands, it's probably about 99.9% back and my feet 100% back. But I didn't appreciate the little things. I was appreciative of my life and all that. But when I was laying there about to die and I got pissed because I said, my God, you know, I'm never going to be able to go swim in the ocean again. I'm not going to be able to see trees again. All the little things that we take for granted. So since then, I've been more appreciative of that. Like you were saying, I'm more bound to walk around my bare feet now just to feel the grass or the ground, things I never really considered before. But now I think about a lot more now because I realize you got to appreciate those little things because how quickly it could all be taken away.
Exactly. And I think, you know, that is like a beautiful statement That's why I really wanted you to share it, because a lot of people see movies like let's say Gladiator, right?
Yeah.
Starts with him walking in a field, touching, and this is what he was used to, and that's the last memory that he has too.
Mhm.
It is iconic that we take for granted a lot of the little things.
Yeah.
And I think that is a beautiful statement to have. It's like, okay, well, with every negative thought that you have, right, turn around and think of 5 positive things.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure if the people that were walking around the street knew that you couldn't feel your feet while you were driving, they'd have to think of 5 positive thoughts,
Right.
hoping they won't get hit. But,
And it's a daily thing, because I mean, I'm human just like everybody else. I got pretty good control of myself, but I mean, I get pissed off just like anybody else. But I really, my whole life, I always try to see things from people's perspective. If this guy's being a jerk, why? There's a reason why this guy is acting this way. And most people, as long as I take time to kind of understand where they're coming from, I can usually, understand why people are the way they are, and pretty forgiving that way. And I can find silver linings in any situation. 99% of the time. Sometimes somebody's just an asshole, and I try and I give up on them. But it's not very common. And there's bad situations where it's like, okay, hey, somebody says, well, I got to go to work today. No, you get to go to work today. You have a job. You have an income. You have influence. You have a chance to do whatever. You have opportunity. I mean, that, again, there's 3 or 4 things that just rattled off. You have to get to work. I have to go to work. Well, the guy unemployed down the street who just lost a job doesn't get to say that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Most of the people that work for USID doesn't get to say that right now.
Correct. So yeah, be a little grateful.
Yeah. Exactly. Now,
and if you're friends with me on Facebook, you'll notice that every morning when I wake up, there's usually some inspirational quote. Mm-hmm. Okay. And people have asked me, "Are you talking about me?" People get offended. Is that what I mean? It's like, no, it really, truly is 100% me talking to myself. Because I take some time every morning to get in the right mindset. And again, I'm generally in the right mindset, but you got to reinforce it, because I don't want to go into the world, leave the house an angry, pissed off guy. I really get my juju aligned before I leave, and I usually find something for that day. Here's my lesson to myself to this day, whether it's a lesson I already know, just reinforcing it. But yeah, I try to start off my day in the right foot. I make my bed, because that's my first accomplishment in the day. I've already accomplished something. I've been awake 60 seconds. I clean up as I go. I make breakfast, and I start my accomplishments first thing in the morning, so that sets the tone for the whole day. Sit down, eat while I'm reading Facebook or news or whatever, and look for something inspiring to kind of set me in the right direction for you.
Yeah, I try to get my juju to make his bed all the time, and unfortunately, that juju doesn't necessarily do that as well.
One day.
One day, hopefully.
Some days when I feel good.
Yeah. Yeah, I go check his room, and all I find is an empty Pop-Tart box. Now, now we do have a game that we like to play with our guests here, and we call it the Who the How, right? Basically, you are stereotyped into this role, and then you've done a lot of research for it, obviously, because you said that you talked to a lot of friends. And today we're going to be talking about police officers, right? We're going to talk about some fun facts, and we're going to throw these out at you. We don't expect you to know 100% of these answers, but if you do, hey, fantastic. For every win, you'll get another Pop-Tart box added on to your tally. Now, are you ready to play?
Sure.
All right, fantastic. Now, cops have been around for a long time, right? The police force. Now, in what year was the first formal American police force established?
I would guess the 1890s.
Oh, okay. You're close, but it's actually 1838. So, we're like a couple of 60 years off.
Right century.
Yeah, exactly. We're right in there, Now, it's interesting because you played numerous roles, like from undercover detectives on like True Detective. You were like in the office there when Matthew McConaughey had a whole issue there. NCSI New Orleans, right? You've been on all this stuff. So there's many divisions, right, inside police agency. Exactly how many police agencies does the U.S. have?
Like police departments?
Well, police agencies, yeah, like, I guess kind of like law enforcement, ranging from like municipal departments to specialized states, federal agencies, stuff like that.
Oh, geez.
So,
I'm gonna guess. You're talking about like the agencies like from tobacco and what is it?
Well, I
TAF?
mean the tobacco, drugs and firearms,
Yeah.
something
Then there's
like
the
that.
FBI. Yeah, you're talking about big departments like that. You're talking about every police department in the country because there's thousands of
Well,
cities and towns.
it's like you're talking about like GPI, like Georgia Bureau of Investigations, kind of like stuff like that. State troopers, basically those things that would still fall under like policing agencies.
Oh, I'm going to guess 10,000.
Oh,
You're talking about every
okay.
single
Again,
one.
yeah. Well, we're talking about over 18,000.
Yeah, I would guess
18,000. No, you were like in the same ballpark. I mean, just a little off.
50%
Like
like 8,000 off.
just like a sugar donut. It's like a glazed donut, but it's not.
I'm going to you can talk.
Now, one thing, and you've you talked about kind of having diverse roles in all your indie films, including flops. Now, you had one that I remember that was really funny, where it was like a rookie on her first day, and so she was a force to be reckoned with, to say the least. But when did the first female officer join the police force? What year do you think?
It's not 1836, but it could be.
1836. I mean, that was like when it first started. You think we were that progressive?
I'm going to guess 1920s.
Okay, again, you're shooting in the same ballpark. 1908. Sorry,
Okay.
1908.
Women's rights and all that around then.
Correct. And she was actually hired by the Portland, Oregon police. So Portland, here's looking at you, you crazy wild child.
And I'm going to interrupt you for a second. The girl that you're talking about in flops, her name is Bailey Wilson. She's phenomenal. I've known her in my personal life, okay? And I've always said, I'm going to put you in a movie one day because you have this natural comedic ability.
Yeah.
One day we found a spot for her in Flops 2 playing a waitress. And I gave her this huge script. She's never done anything before. And she sat down with John Mangus and 3 other actors who knew what they were doing. And she went head-to-head with them for all day long. And she carried this scene and utterly crushed it. And even the extras that were the diners were laughing their asses off, saying, "Where did you find this girl? She's fantastic." And I said, "She is not acting. That is who she is." I've never gotten so many compliments about one person. And even though it's supposed to be a one and done, I said, "We're not letting you go. You're stuck with us forever." So we put her in that flop scene that you're talking about, where she was a rookie. And she crushed that. And to this day, I mean, her TikTok views on that is like 1.5 million, 2 million views just on that scene. And even last night, it was on this day, and I reposted again yesterday. Mm-hmm. And she's really, really good, naturally funny. And every time I post anything with her, she gets compliments. She's done comic conventions also with me and sat there and signed stuff. I wanted to do some podcasts either about movie reviews or something. And if I do, she would be my co-host because she can keep up. She's naturally funny. She's got great insight, and people love her.
Absolutely. She has a presence about her that just screams, "I'm going to kick your ass."
Yes.
And you're going to like it.
That's what's always been funny because, like I said, I've known her in my personal life. She went to school with my daughter, same age. And she's this little tiny girl with blonde hair and blue eyes. But she talks to you like exactly like, "I'm going to kick you." And she would say this stuff to me like, "I'm going to fuck you up." And with such confidence that there's no way it's going to happen. But it was so goddamn funny because 3 feet tall and just talking like she's going to absolutely slaughter you over and over and over. And it just made me laugh relentlessly. I'm pretty hard to make laugh, but to this day, this girl can make me laugh endlessly with just the attitude. And it is not acting. It is 100% real. That's how she talks.
And you could see it. And the reason I brought up that scene also is because obviously it tailors into the whole police thing, not necessarily the waitressing one. But if you do get a chance to watch that, the flops episode I'm talking about, there is a guy there, El Gigante, which he stands up.
Oh yeah, you're right, El Gigante.
Yeah. He stands up and he looks her down, and she's like straight up staring him down. She is the Chihuahua of the dog world, where she's just like, no, zero zero fucks. So
you wrote that. Me and my buddy Frank Rojas wrote that scene, okay? And when we write stuff, it's like, okay, how can we make this more outrageous? First, she takes off the badge and throws the badge. All right, no badge, what you got? Then the thug keeps coming at her. It's like, oh, you're badass because you got that gun. She takes the gun belt off and throws the gun belt. Now what? Well, you got backup. Take the radio off, throws that. Now what's left? And then I said, I need the tallest guy possible.
Yeah.
Stand up. And his name is Paul Carter, and he's an ex-NBA player. That dude that stood up. And God, he's like 7.5 feet tall. And we had to get a truck. He was sitting on the bed of a truck. We had to get the camera above him to look over his shoulder so you could see how little she was in comparison. But
and then when he stood up and you got that low angle of just like boom.
That was not easy to get because we had to get over his shoulder looking down, and Mike was on the camera, had to be able to look down 8 feet.
That is such a great scene. But we're going to go ahead and give you one more, and this is more like a Sheriff Jackie kind of tribute here. When did police canine units begin?
I would say that's probably more recent, maybe the 1970s.
Ooh, very good. That is absolutely 100% correct. That is amazing. Yeah, there you go. And basically the dogs are chosen. They're going through like a lot of training. I mean, we saw a documentary on Netflix not that long ago. Me and my wife were big, like fans of all these really cool dog Netflix documentary stuff that they produce. And just the massive amount of trainings that they go through within the first 6 months of their life. Into the year, and then having to do, and then they break them off according to their talents. Mm-hmm. So much like everything else, like you said, working with a team, here's a dog that's really good at sniffing. Here's a dog that's really good at kind of attacking. Like, so they see their personalities and give them a job accordingly.
Yeah.
But fantastic, and you know what? I really appreciate you playing today. Now, Juju, you usually have a question to kind of end all questions.
Oh yeah.
So look at how he gets all. Okay,
well,
go ahead.
Yeah, I readjusted my chair for this one. Now, of course, you've been in the field. You've done many roles. Some that I can't even count all of them. Not even all my hands. So I just want to ask a simple question, which is, what advice could you give to anyone who, with like all your experience, any experience you'd wish you knew, whether it be in an acting field or anything, what could you give to people who are eyeballing into getting that, or just people who are into it and they do not know what they're doing, like what they're getting into?
So somebody wants to get into like the film industry or film in general?
Yeah, it's like film or sure. Any advice, anything you want to toss into people's way that you want to kind of feed them into having a more brilliant mind, or giving them the advice that will change their life. Anything you hit them with.
I use film as an example because a lot of people ask me. I do a lot of conventions still, and that's a pretty common question. How do I get involved in this? You don't have to be handsome. I'm fortunate that I am extremely handsome, so it worked out. If you watch a movie, you're going to see all types of people. You're going to see every type of person in movies, no matter what. So people always say, well, how can I get into a movie? I'm not handsome. No, I promise you, there's a role for everybody. The most important thing is to try to get onto a film set, because people say, I want to be an actor. I got to get an agent. I got to move to Hollywood. No, you don't. Start on Facebook or whatever the social media you use is, and just start to type in local film scene or local indies. Somebody somewhere is making a movie. And get on that set however you can, in whatever capacity you can, and start to learn. You're going to start to meet people. You're going to start to network, and that is going to lead somewhere. Or you may get in there and say, I absolutely hate this. I want nothing to do with it. Because I've seen that also, where people want to get on and learn about movies, and they say, God, does this really take 18 hours for 1 minute of footage? Yeah, it does. It sucks.
Retakes and everything.
You really have to want to be here. And if you don't want to be here, this isn't for you. But some people I've seen have gone on film sets and they had that thought. But you know what? They really, really like the props part of it. And I've seen people go into props. I've seen people go into stunts. I've seen people go into catering. I've seen people go into catering. Yeah, it's like, man, I really like I'm gonna go hang out with the caterers, and go hang out with them and get hired by them. and produce their own catering company and feed the film students. I mean, there's something for everybody. I've seen so many people that I started with go in all these different directions. And but if you want to get into film, for example, that's the best way is get onto a film set and see if you even like it, and then just keep on doing it, and don't do it for the fame or for the money. That comes a time. It's not steady work at all. You always have to have a regular job because there's only one Jack Nicholson who's been around for 50 years. Most people like Mr. T, is really good for 10 years. And where have you seen Mr. T lately? Nowhere. Yeah, everybody has a golf life. A million actors you can name. There's 500,000 SAG members, but maybe 100 work today or 200 work today. Superstardom isn't all that common, so I would never ever count on that or expect it or expect a steady paycheck. And I've always looked at it, hey, make a couple extra bucks on the side. That's how I've looked at it. Never going to be my main source of income. It's just too unreliable. You can have the best adventure ever. Hey, I worked on Planet of the Apes for a month. That was phenomenal. Now I'm unemployed for 4 months. Sucks.
Yeah. No, and I mean that's great advice. So guys, track it down. I mean, there are colleges out there, people, film schools, stuff like that are always looking for someone to hire on the cheap. If you want to go ahead and get into it, remember there's always MySpace, AOL chat rooms. There's net zero discs that you can get to get your internet for free. And then remember the Chimichanga Talk Gold Card. The Chimichanga Talk Gold Card, only $1,000 will guarantee you fast track to listening to this podcast. So if you want to send us some money, we're more than happy to give you a nice, beautiful, shiny gold card for it. We're still going to be sending that. But John, Armijo, thank you so much for being on. Thank you so much for sharing your positivity and your insight. And, stop looking at me so sternly, man. You gotta line up.
You scared me a little bit. I had to go quiet because I was afraid. I didn't want to piss myself in the middle of the recording, so.
Yeah,
I have a pretty low mic.
And we'll go ahead and kind of link all your work and stuff like that down below. Remember, you could go ahead and like and subscribe. Make sure to comment. And, actually, I have one last thing for you. We do have a comment that came in from one of our users and I want your personal opinion on it because you do have a huge insight. And so we asked them, what do you think is one of the most plausible conspiracy theories that are out there? We asked that on our last podcast, and we did get a comment out, and they went ahead and put my favorite conspiracy theory is the idea that North Korea is actually a subterranean civilization, and the North Korea that the world knows on the top layer of the earth is there specifically to drive people away from the utopia that is the subterranean North Korea. How do you feel about that, John? The truth is out there, folks. So the really good North Korea is actually buried underground, while the top layer of North Korea is just a big facade. So guys, go ahead and take all that in right now. Talk to your family about that instead of talking politics. Go ahead and, well, that kind of is. But still, subterranean people living underground, kind of like Silo, right? Just if you guys haven't seen that, it's on Apple TV Plus. And this isn't a plug. We're not being sponsored by them. But remember, whenever you can, talk to Pop-Tarts. John Armijo, spokesperson for Pop-Tarts. His face
give his own flavor,
staring you down, giving you flavor. Judgment. Every time you open up a Pop-Tart, he'll be judging you and being like, "You sure you want to eat that?" All right, guys. So thank you so much for listening in this week. Remember, we got amazing guests every week. And if not, we just have me and this schmo, Bad Juju, who's been on here quite a bit, talking about the news and whatever we can. So, again, John, thank you so much for being on. And Juju, thank you so much for saying so much that it kind of talked my ear off. And, guys, I'm Deadpool Speaks, and I'm out. See ya.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening this week, and remember, just like always, we will be back next week with another great guest and more adventures from the land of Chimichanga Talk. So tune in next time, same Deadpool time, same Deadpool channel.